Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hope everybody's doing great. Hopefully you had a great 4th. Everybody's safe and um, ours was quiet but fun. I always enjoy. I would never say that we ever do illegal fireworks, but we have. This year we didn't, which is good. The sheriffs actually posted all over the place that they were going to. They've got $1,000 reward for anybody that turned in their neighbor, and so that definitely was a possibility of being us in the past. But this year we chose to just be quiet and hang low, but it was fun. It was good. So appreciate everybody joining me today for the Saturday training, and I just want to go ahead and get started. But one other thing I want to say is that we are looking for trainers. Our group is growing. I'm going to actually turn my phone on to airplane mode so I don't get any interruptions. And here we go. We're looking for trainers. Our group is growing, and I know that we've got a lot of leaders in our group. And so I would like to offer anybody who feels like they can train or lead or wants to be a part of the Saturday trainings, we want to invite you to reach out to us. You can private message me and we'll give you a topic, and what you can do is record a training and submit it to us, and we'll take a look at it. We can give feedback, and if we are excited about the job that you did, and we'll plug you into the system and we'll just start doing rotations. So it's way better than just hearing from just one of us or two or three of us. But our group is getting so big, it's exciting to offer that to everybody. So we're going to go ahead and get started with today's training. So far today, I've started off with a bang, and so I'm excited about how today really promises to be. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, which is momentum. And it's one of my favorite things to talk about because I feel like it's a buzzword in our industry, right? And some of you guys might feel the same way. I remember the first time I ever heard it. I was like, momentum, like, I don't really understand what that means in this space of network marketing or direct sales. And so I thought about it, and I want to share this concept with you because, I think whenever you're talking about buzzwords, it makes me wonder if you've ever heard the word momentum, as pertaining to your business, right? I need to know, do you use this word? Have you ever heard your upline talk about that word? If you've ever been to a conference, did they talk about it? I mean, personally, I get so curious about what certain words mean to certain people. So I'm wondering what momentum means to you when you use the word. So if you're willing, if you're able, if you understand the chat box on this, I'd love for you just to type in there what momentum means to you. Now I say that because when we talk about momentum in this business, we typically see it happen in our business when our team seems to have exploded, right? Like overnight. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's all of a sudden. Like either your team or maybe someone else's team. And it just seems to go like that overnight. And when you see a leader, you're like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Tell me what's going on. And they almost can't even describe it to you, or what's going on in their business. If you've ever heard of this happening or you can relate to it, give me a virtual high five right now, or put a little heart in the chat box or something. These are all things that you do in a live video, but we got our chat box, and that'll help me record everybody's responses. So I remember the first time I came into this business of network marketing, and the concept of momentum was very new to me in terms of why it mattered and what it really did for my business. And so I was on this quest, if you will, to find momentum. And yet it felt kind of like this elusive thing to me, and I didn't really know how to create it. I was by myself in the beginning, and then I started to build a team, and I didn't really know what that team or really what to do, right, with my team. And so the whole concept of building momentum was like this. It was like this super foreign concept, right? So what I want to share with you is that a lot of times when you're in the state of momentum, you don't really know how you got there. And a lot of times when we're not in momentum, we're like struggling to get there, right? Have you ever felt that way? So if you have felt that way, maybe give me another cyber high five, if you will. I really think this whole thing is a myth. Well, if you will, in the space of direct selling anyway. But I also think that it's something that's really real. And what I mean by that is that sometimes this ethereal concept of momentum feels like this super far-fetched thing, like this thing that we're never going to achieve. And we see it sometimes happening for others, and we wonder to ourselves, like, why is this not happening for me, And we start doing this whole beat up kind of BS game on ourselves, which is, like questioning, maybe we're not good enough in this business, or maybe we're not great in sales, or maybe we just haven't recruited the right person. And so what happens for us is that we start thinking about momentum. And what ultimately starts to happen is, well, momentum is a leader's best friend, right? So if you've ever done or watched anything by John Maxwell, he wrote a great book that you should read if you haven't. And it's called The 21 Refutable Laws of Leadership. And his 16th law is the power of the big mo. And what he's talking about is momentum. Now, all of us have seen momentum, maybe not in the space of our business, or some of us maybe are in this space of momentum right now, and we're trying to figure out how to keep it going, we're trying to figure out how to create it, or we just got out of it and we're trying to figure out how to bring it back. And so we're having all of these conversations around momentum, right? And John Maxwell talks about momentum as a leader's best friend, because when you're in momentum and momentum is good, it often highlights and it often makes you look like you're a better leader than you are, right? And when momentum is not so good, it actually does the opposite. And it makes you as a leader feel like you're worse than you are, because maybe you don't have all the answers. And maybe you're trying to figure out how to get there and how to climb through the space of momentum, So when you think about it, getting started is like running in water. And over time, the water level gets lower and lower. And we just start running faster and faster and faster. And that's exactly what it is. And I think about what it is for me. And I think when I first came into the space of network marketing, right, I was very blessed with early momentum. And it was just one of those things I literally remember going to work, and I'm going to share a secret with you guys that I believe is what puts you into momentum very quickly. And I mean, when I started in this business, I really didn't know what I was doing, right? I just followed instructions, and I really just trusted the system and the process of what the company was teaching me and what my upline was teaching. And I really tried hard to bring no bad habits into this. And what was so amazing is that my team, well, I was my team, right? And my team exploded. And I would go to conference and people would come up to me and ask, gosh, what are you doing? Tell us your secret. And it was so interesting because in that space of momentum, it was like, well, it's just the product, or it's just building, or it's, it's just the process, and it's all just building the momentum, right? And I feel like I was a better leader or something, because something better was happening on my team, right? And I remember looking at the end of the day, thinking back and walking back to my hotel at the end of this conference day and thinking, gosh, I have no idea what the heck is causing this momentum. Maybe it is the product, or maybe it is, the system, or maybe I just got lucky, right? Have you guys ever really thought about the fact that somebody may have just gotten lucky? Well, as I started thinking about these things that were happening in my business, and I started thinking about this concept of momentum, and I started thinking about how momentum shows up every single day in my life. In fact, many of you have probably had that, right? And if you've ever been working on a project, think about this. If you've ever been working on a project and you're just working away, and you look up and look at the clock and hours have gone by, right? Well, you're in the flow, right? You're in momentum. and you hate to get interrupted, and you don't want to stop because it's hard to get back into that flow or back into that activity, right? Sports teams have momentum all the time. And the crazy thing about momentum is that it can be built just like that, or it can be lost just like that. So when you think a little bit about it, let me tell you a story. My son is a motorcycle racer, okay? He's only been racing for 2 years, but he's literally a champion. I'll back up just a little. Let's go back 2 years ago, okay? First day we put him on a motorcycle. He crashed into the fence twice, and he had all kinds of crazy adventures. But at the end of that first season, he was black plate 1. Black plate is the plate of a champion, right? And it goes first, second, third. So he finished out as black plate 1. That was on a 100cc bike. Well, of course, at the end of that season, he's like, I want to jump onto the next size bike, which is a 250cc bike. And it required a lot more strength and skill. And so he began working out. He signed up with the military training camp. He's only 14, but he signed up with the military training camp, and he began these really intense workouts, which it's not only been good for his strength, but it's also built his confidence, right? So we obviously have this pool. He loves flipping into the pool. And so he's getting stronger, he's getting his confidence up. And so he moves a little mini trampoline out by the pool. And he started flipping from the trampoline into the pool. Super fun. That's awesome. Well, as he started building momentum and his flips got better and better, he decided to, add a little gusto to it. So he started running and jumping on the trampoline and flipping. And he just was doing great. He got really good. And he started actually getting a little cocky, okay? And he began making bets. And some of his friends would bet him, that he'd nail it, and then it would be kind of this fun camaraderie, and competitions started and things like that. Well, one night my daughter had some friends over, and that's when the bets really began. Now, anybody who had seen him knew he was just going to crush it. And one of my daughter's friends decided, he was going to compete with my son. And so, of course, my son welcomed with excitement this competition, and he had all of his confidence. And so everything gets set up, and my son goes, I'm just going to do a little practice run here. And he runs and he jumps and flips into the pool and nails it. Okay, everybody's hooting and hollering and whoop, 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 you got this. And so my daughter's, friend goes, and, he doesn't have a pool. This isn't anything that he's really done a lot of. So he backs up and he tries to copy what my son does. And he pulls it off. He does a pretty good flip, but it wasn't quite as good as my son, but it was enough to give this guy confidence about competing with my son, okay? So the excitement was definitely in the air, and believe me, it was thick, right? So all bets were made. My son backs up, runs, jumps onto the mini trampoline, loses his footing, and does a painful, very embarrassing belly flop. Now you can imagine what this did to his confidence and his attitude, right? Well, what happens next is key, okay? What happened is the momentum shifted, okay? All that he'd created over the past several weeks and months was just passed on to the other guy, right? Who got excited. And his confidence was now up. His competition just belly flopped. So he runs, he jumps, and nails it. Awesome flip. Did a great job. And what I saw when my son came up after his belly flop is this. He started making all kinds of excuses, every excuse in the world. And let me have another try. Let me have another try. And he tried and tried and tried to nail his flip, but he couldn't pull it off. His confidence was shaken, and the momentum that he had built up had been lost in that moment of time. So I think about once we have momentum, we think it's going to stay with us all the time, right? We've got confidence and people are looking at us like, what in the heck are you doing? You're rocking it. And the truth is, in life, it just doesn't happen like that. Momentum is not something that you're meant to endure at all times. In fact, if you think a little bit about momentum, your team and our company is in momentum. And maybe it feels kind of effortless for you, and you don't really know why you're growing as fast as you are. And that's okay. We don't know the answers, but the reality is that you've got the power of the big Mo on your side. Now, for some of you, maybe you had momentum on your side, and maybe that momentum's kind of faded, and now you're trying to get it back, okay? So now that you've had that power of momentum and you're trying to figure out how to get it back, you're sitting there going, how do I get there? How did I get there? And believe me, I can relate to you, okay? When I started building my business, I was on this upward trajectory, right? And then it dropped into a valley, and then it turned upward again. And I was on this momentum roller coaster, or the peaks and the valleys, or I had times where it just felt effortless. It was easy, and I couldn't even tell you the super secret of what was happening in my business, other than the one secret that I do want to share with you in just a minute. And it's what I think about momentum, and where I think momentum starts, and where I believe it pivots, and this is really important for all of you, whether you're new to network marketing or whether you've been here for a while, whether momentum is on your side or whether you're trying to establish new momentum. But before I share that, what I want to do is I want to invite you to think a little bit about momentum, because I feel like one of the things that becomes pretty elusive in the space of network marketing and direct selling is that we're chasing this power of momentum because it's effortless, right? It's easy, and things just really seem to happen, and we're really not sure why. But what I also want you guys to think about is the fact that momentum is not designed to be sustainable over long periods of time. It's just not the definition of what momentum is. In fact, I'm going to invite you guys to think about your marriage, right? So has your marriage always had like a ton of momentum? Has it always been up and to the right? Every marriage has times when it's challenging, and times when we felt really close to our significant others, and times when we wondered, is this ever really going to work out? And so ultimately what happens is our marriages have ups and downs and peaks and valleys. And what ends up happening is that all those ups and downs ultimately create momentum up and over to the right, over time. So now thinking about this in terms of momentum with our children, right? So like any of you who are parents, sometimes raising children seems effortless. Like it's just easy, they're all getting along, and homework's getting done, and they're getting the chores done, and you're kind of in the state of flow, or a state of momentum. And then there's times when, and I'm not sure if I'm the only one that's ever felt like this, but like you've had it up to your eyeballs, and you're ready to sell your children to anybody that'll take them. You're even considering giving them away for free. Everything's just bad. Homework assignments have gone missing. Nothing's getting done. They're fighting a ton. You're having to drive their lunches to school because they missed them, or your toys are getting flushed down the toilet. And I mean, everything just seems awful. But if you sit back and you look at the big picture, and you see the ups and downs of raising them, the peaks and the valleys, but at the end of the day, the line on the graph is up and to the right, right? Momentum leads us to that direction. So remember, it's absolutely a false expectation to think that it should be any different in your business. I feel like over the years, I've been in direct selling and network marketing. It feels interesting to me because sometimes we feel like no matter what we're doing, we just can't create momentum, right? We just kind of get stuck, and we're riding along this negative cycle. Whereas with your children, you can't really say, I've had enough, I'm just kind of stuck, right? You have to figure out a way to keep moving forward. So now what I want you to do is share. I won't have you do that because that'll take too much time away from our thing. I was going to have to go back to the chat box. But now what I want to do is share the number one way to create momentum in your business and in your life. And I know you guys are going to be able to see how this creates energy in your life. In fact, I describe this to myself as being in motion. Okay, so an object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by force. Okay, that's a law. I'm going to say it again. An object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by force. Now, whether you believe it or not, that's a law, and it's true for you. So whenever I was feeling stuck, or I was trying to figure out how do I create momentum, how do I create the energy, the very first thing I need to do is put myself in motion, right? So I had to get up. I had to do something, put myself in motion. And maybe it's picking up the phone and looking at my phone numbers. Maybe it's I just start walking while I'm talking on the phone. Maybe I pace the room while I'm putting together a training, but I need to put myself in motion. And here's the thing, momentum starts with you. It's true. The number one thing that affects your momentum is your attitude towards activity and your belief in the activity, okay? So I'm going to repeat that. Momentum is really about your attitude towards activity and your belief that the activity creates momentum, okay? So I can say this to you because I've had periods in my business where I've had massive momentum, and I've had times where I've had massive decline. And I've had times in my life where I've wondered what in the heck to do, right? Because truthfully, we all have times where things are flowing and we have no idea why. And at other times, we all wonder what in the world we need to do to get there. And so I want to encourage you guys. The biggest secret that you can do is to have a good attitude and a belief in the outcome of that attitude. Now, I do believe that the biggest killer is when we don't get immediate results. Think about weight loss, okay? So think about, maybe you haven't had a scale and you go and you buy a scale and you decide you're going to start this diet, okay? And you work hard, you work for a whole week, every single day you're doing the right things and you're so excited about getting on that scale at the end of the week, right? And you jump on the scale and it hasn't changed. Well, you've become emotionally attached to the outcome that you didn't get, right? And it's most likely going to affect your momentum because your attitude toward that diet's not going to be very good, right? But if you've grown up with a scale and that's just been part of your routine every day, you get on a scale, weigh yourself every day, and it's just an activity to you. You've always done it every day, and you really just do it just to kind of keep yourself in check, but you don't get emotionally all tangled up in what the scale says, right? It might go up a couple pounds over a week's period, or it may drop, but what you do it for is just kind of keep yourself in check, right? It's not going to affect your attitude because you're disattached to what it says. Does that make sense? So when you think about your attitude and your belief in the attitude, and if you're disattached to the outcome, here's what ultimately happens. You start doing the activity. You start from a place of belief and gratitude in your attitude. And ultimately, it just starts creating an attractive vibe, right? People will want to be around you, and they're going to want to have what you have. It's an attractive energy, and it's going to draw people into you. And I can't tell you how many times I've been on a coaching call and I'm talking to somebody who just starts talking about being stuck in their business, right? And how they can't figure out how to get unstuck. They're going to tell you all about their activity. And honestly, they may be doing their activity, but their energy or their attitude is really affecting them, right? Their energy about the scarcity of momentum, their energy or their attitude about being stuck, their attitude about lack of momentum, all of that is definitely not an attitude of gratitude, abundance, and fulfillment, right? That isn't attractive, and it's not going to create the energy that people want to be a part of. It's just not. So whether you have a team of one or you have a team of hundreds, you're building the energy that you're creating around the attitude and your belief and expectancy of helping others. And that's going to automatically just attract other people, right? So some of the people I've coached, they're so quick to share, hey, I would never share this with my team, but honestly, it doesn't matter if you say it or not. Your attitude and your energy say it. And I don't know about you, but I can feel energy from other people around me, right? I can even feel it through the phone. Now, if I can feel it through the phone, your team is absolutely going to feel it, right? And whether it's at a conference, whether it's at an opportunity meeting, whether it's on a team call or a follow-up call, that transfer of energy will not have a positive effect on your business. But if you can sit back and evaluate your attitude, and you can start to have an expectancy-based attitude, meaning you're going to disattach yourself, right? So what you believe in is the activity will produce, okay? So if you start to have this expectancy-based attitude, the right people are just going to start showing up on your path, and the right people are going to present themselves, and you're going to worry less about the people who say no, and you'll worry more about the people that say yes. And ultimately, over time, what starts to happen is you start to have more and more of those people who want to say yes, and more of those people who want to get involved and think like you do and see what you see. And those people could even already be on your team, but now they're seeing your attitude and your belief, and they want to follow you, and they want the same energy that you're projecting. So the secret around momentum is all around belief and expectancy and your attitude, okay? And if you think it's going to be hard, it's going to be hard. And if you think, gosh, the next person I talk to is going to be my next leader, you're going to start attracting more and more of those people into your life. So that's what I want to share with you today. And as you start to think about your business and momentum, I want you to remember that momentum can be created in a snap, and momentum can be lost in a snap. And everything centers around our attitude of expectancy and our belief around that, right? Because once we have that, we start doing the activity that attracts the right people into your business, okay? And that's why leaders stand on stage. And this is why leaders look like they're way better than they really are. Because what's ultimately happening is the energy starts to be contagious, right? But the one that radiates the room, right? Have you ever been around or been in a room, and somebody walks in and the energy that they bring into that room is exciting, right? You just want to go and be by that person or introduce yourself or just find why are they radiating, it's exciting. And I'm sure you've also met the person that walks into the room and it just feels like they've sucked energy out of the room, right? I always say there's certain people that when I walk away from them, gosh, I just feel like they suck the life out of me, right? So I'm going to try and distance myself as far away from them as possible. So I'm going to leave you with this. The more you have an attitude of expectancy and abundance, it's going to make it easier to have those activities and attract the ones who become your next leaders and really fuel your momentum. And the next thing you need to know is that you're standing on stage and you have no idea how you got there, okay? That has to be in your mindset, right? And don't get frustrated with the peaks and the valleys and this roller coaster. What you need to do is learn to get better at kind of navigating the wave, okay? I hope this has been helpful to some of you in your business. I hope that I've helped you think about your attitude and how you can attract people to your business. And what I think about as I'm talking to you today is that I'm looking forward to seeing each one of you on stage. And I'm looking so forward to being around you in this energy that I know you're going to project, And I want to encourage you to stay positive and really have the attitude of gratitude and abundancy and fulfillment. And you will attract people that want that as well. And pretty soon your business is going to grow and grow and grow. And it's exciting, but don't be frustrated when the momentum kind of fizzles out a little bit. You have to go through the ebb and flow. So again, happy Saturday. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful weekend and really dive into getting your business to the next level. And I'm excited about the summit. It's going to be fun to meet all of you that I haven't met before. It's going to be fun to reconnect with the ones that I have. And it's going to be really exciting 1 year from now at our next summit to see who's on stage. And I know that it's going to be several of you. So I look forward to that. And I just wish you a wonderful, wonderful day. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.